So whenever you bring in pixels into Illustrator and you have the control bar available on top, and also it's available in your properties menu as well. But that's why I like using the control bar, because it's a little easier to see and it gives you more options than properties. So if you don't have your control bar, you go to Windows and you just click on Control. But whenever you bring in a pixel-based image, it's going to give you an option to image trace. And so you have an image trace button right here. So you click on that and you'll get instant vectors. It may not be what you want. So you have presets here that you can explore. So you have like a shades of gray preset. But for this assignment, I really want you to stick with this default. And then the other thing you can do though to adjust this is you click on this icon next to default, and it lets you change like the levels of black and white. So if you drag this in different ways, you can start to get a better image out of it depending on how far you drag it. So it's basically looking at the image and it's changing the image to like a black and white image, and it's changing the concentration of black and white on that image. And then you can even kind of push it further. You go into advanced and you can kind of adjust it even further. And so once you get something that you like, so this is where you do it though. You click on this little icon here next to preset and you can adjust it. And then once you get something that you like, you hit expand. You have to hit expand because right now you can't really change anything in the image. It's like this solid piece of artwork. What I was saying is I like to, if I grab an image, I'm gonna copy it and either paste it again at a later point or paste it into a couple layers. Go into my layers here. The other thing I like to do is I always like to make my layers really big. So I like to go into the options and make it big enough so I can actually see the layers themselves as I work. And then I will lock that first layer, go to the second layer and Command V, or you can hit Command or Control F. And Command Control F is paste in front, so I use that a lot. So now I got two versions. So I got a backup version basically. If I want to do different things with the backup version. For example, what you can do is for that first version, when you do your image trace, you can play with the color. So I was looking for this last Thursday when I was talking to everybody. I forgot where the edit colors were, and they're under edit color here. And you can invert the color. So if you invert it and then do your image trace, you're just gonna get a different result. But then what you can start to do, so I'm gonna go into this image trace, expand it, get rid of the white background. And then I'm going to go up into my second one, and then I will actually duplicate that so I have a backup. So I always kind of have a backup of the image. And then I'll lock down the other layers here, and then go into this second one. And then I will image trace that, but I won't invert it. And maybe I'll just play with, like, if you go into the image trace palette under window, you can go into image trace, and you have kind of the same things that you have up here. So this brings it up when you click on that icon as well next to view. You can play with this threshold. That will change the amount of tracing. Like, that's actually pretty cool. And you can play with some other settings too, but let's say I like this. So I'm going to expand this one. And then one of the things you can start to play with is like shifting the two image traces to get like an off register type effect. Now this kind of works better when you're playing with color because you can get some really good results, but here what I can do is play with the grayscale. So first I'll make sure I Actually, I'm gonna hit cancel there. I'll just make sure I'm selecting one big piece, and then play with the grayscale of the image so it's a little bit lighter. And then what you can do is you can start to play with some blend modes. So if you look in properties, in this properties panel over here, under appearance, under opacity, if you click on opacity, it opens up this window and you get these blend modes. So if you open that up, you can click down. If you play with multiply, let's say, what it does is it takes the two layers. So you have layer 1 and layer 2. And Photoshop does this as well, but it takes the two layers, and depending on what blend mode it is using, it will do a calculation. And let's say if you use multiply with gray, what that does is it multiplies your dark pixels together, and white pixels don't get multiplied together. So it's performing this kind of math on the pixels themselves. Even though it's vectors, it's looking at it from a pixel standpoint. So like if I go into lighten, actually I have to, let's see, select this and then go into lighten. It does, you know, it kind of does something different. If I go into difference, you know, it's going to give you different results. So it's kind of an interesting thing to play with. And then if you select the one layer, you know, and offset it more, you know, you get this interesting off registration effect. So that's one of the things you can play with if you're using multiple layers. Well, let's say I go into this top one and do an image trace on that one. So I have the top layer selected. I'll image trace that, and then I will expand it, and I will select this white and delete it, so now I can see through it. But maybe on this one, this is where I want to start to fill it with type. So I talked about a error message that might pop up. So if you go into your type tool and pick area type and click on this, it gives you this error message about non-compound paths. So you have to go into object compound path and hit release. But if you click on it again, it still might not be fixed. So the trick is to go back up into object and hit expand. And you're gonna have to hit expand multiple times. Like I did it again, it's still not working, but don't give up. So keep on hitting expand, and it's still not working. And let me hit it more times. And there it worked. So for some reason, even though you release the compound path, you have to hit expand a bunch of times, because I think there's multiple like compound paths overlaid, and expand is going through them all, and eventually you get to the last one and then it works. So if you get frustrated and you're trying to release that with the tip I gave you last time and it's not working, just keep on hitting expand. And expand, when you go into expand, that's your kind of your trick to actually releasing any artwork that's not doing what it wants. Hit expand and it should kind of break up the artwork into pieces.